Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he got what he deserved after pushing his girlfriend away for being a gold digger? My brother is a very hard-working man, and at 27 he's now very wealthy and doing well for himself. He's been with this girl for 6 months, and throughout the time we've gotten close because we both like hair, makeup, and shopping. I never knew there was anything wrong with their relationship, except when she texted me last week saying she would love to hang out, but thinks it'd be inappropriate because she and my brother broke up. I asked her why, and she said she was sick and tired of auditioning to prove she was with him for the right reasons. She went on to say that my brother is paranoid, she's after his money, so he would test her, like 1, leaving out his bank statements on their bed and getting upset when she picked it up, 2, going out to eat at high-end restaurants he requested and leaving his wallet at home on purpose to make her pay the bill and prove she's not going out with him for money, 3, never buying her gifts and questioning her when she asks why he doesn't. I was shocked, so I had to hear my brother's perspective. We spoke, and he told me everything she said was true, and that there's nothing wrong with making sure his girlfriend is with him for the right reasons. He said he left his bank statements on the bed and was peeking through the door to see if she would be curious, and when he saw her pick up the papers, he knew in his gut she was using it for his money, so he set up the restaurant idea to see if she would get upset after paying a $500 bill, which she was. I asked him if he thinks her being an elementary school teacher would have contributed to her being upset at a $500 bill at a restaurant he wanted to go to, and he said no. He said the straw that broke was when she asked him why he hasn't bought her a single gift since they've started dating, when she bought him a gaming console and new rims for his car, and he knew she was just discreetly asking him to buy her an expensive gift. He confronted her and said he thinks she's with him for his money, so she said, "Let me do us both a favor," and dumped him and blocked him. He's upset about the gold-digging shrew, and when I laughed, he called me an a-hole. He said I would never understand what it's like being rich and being used, and I get that concern. But I told him if he thinks any woman will be okay with his tests and auditions, he's delusional as hell. If he doesn't want to be used for his money, he should start dating people as wealthy as him and leave lower-income people alone if he's not going to be genuine in his relationships unless they pass his test. No, not the a-hole. This guy is just out of touch with regular people. He thinks she'll be okay paying $500 from being a teacher? I think he's really lost sight of how people who don't have as much money as him lives. And also, she complained about him not buying a gift. Not an expensive gift. A gift. And the gifts that she bought for him are way expensive. Definitely not the a-hole. Story 2. I followed and reported a drunk driver. Then I got a ticket for driving past curfew. Last week, I was driving home from my friend's house when I noticed someone driving very erratically. They were swerving when there was nothing to avoid, and they couldn't stay in their lane. So I called the police and followed them. The police caught up to us after a while, and they pulled over the driver. It turns out that he was extremely drunk, and when they gave him the sobriety tests, he failed them miserably. He was arrested, and the police asked me to write a statement and give them my information. I gave one of the cops my driver's license, I'm under 18, so he could copy my address, and he said that I wasn't allowed to be driving because it was past 11. I told him that I would have gotten home by 11, but I noticed the drunk driver and I didn't want someone to get hurt, so I followed them. Plus, when I called them, they asked me to keep following the man, even though it was technically past curfew. The officer said that it didn't matter, even if driving past curfew meant that World War III was prevented. That the law is the law, and that he had to give me a ticket because I broke curfew. He said he would have to give me another ticket if I drove home myself, so I called my parents and they came and picked me up and drove the car I was driving home. Am I really going to have to pay this ticket, or is there some way out? I'm thinking of calling the police station and asking them to reduce the fine, but at this point, I'm really anxious because I have to mail something back to the court in a few days, otherwise I'll get arrested and I don't know what to do. I'm in Pennsylvania, if it matters. I wonder if the police have to issue a ticket for this person that was also breaking the law because this person's testimony might be rendered illegal if the drunk driver tries to fight anything in court. And I don't know, maybe that's the thing behind it. But as much as this person is legally in the right to issue this person a ticket for driving past curfew, it's the cop being an a-hole here. They should have just kind of dropped it or just have some sort of compensation or reconciliation for this type of thing. He's helping them. And he was told to drive and keep following them. What was he supposed to do? Maybe that's an angle they can argue with in court. Story 3. I automated my ineffective boss's job. This happened a few years ago. I was a data and reporting analyst and did all the ad hoc reports for the company. My boss, we'll call her Carrie, was useless. She was one of those people that was always late, left early, and took days off at short notice. The only thing of value she did was all the regular reports, sales, revenue, etc. We suspected she got away with it because she was having an affair with her boss. We'll call him Stuart. Our CEO was a fairly decent bloke. He'd look for ways to cut costs and would pay regular bonuses for best cost-saving initiatives. Carrie was very keen to submit ideas and encouraged us all to automate our tasks so she could try and take the credit for the savings. On one of her skive days, which coincidentally Stuart was sick, as well as the CEO was desperate for the sales report my boss does, I said I'd give a look and see if I could get it done. Normally, she'd spend 2 to 3 days doing it each week, but the CEO wanted it that afternoon. A quick inspection of the data showed it would be quite easy to be automated, so I knocked up the necessary script and got it over to the CEO, who was super impressed that not only had I got it done in a couple of hours, but also that it could be updated whenever he needed it. He asked if I could also look at the revenue. I automated everything my boss did. Both Carrie and Stuart were back in the next day, but were immediately summoned to the CEO's office before being suspended and sent home. Turns out the CEO knew they were having an affair, and all the times they were sick or late and had to leave early was so they could sneak off and have spicy time. He'd not done anything about it because of how important these reports were. Now they were automated. He was able to get them suspended and later fired for gross misconduct for all the time they'd taken off. I also got a nice bonus out of it. Too long didn't read? My useless boss encouraged us to automate our work, so I automated all her tasks and the CEO fired her. Brilliant! I mean, the CEO was looking for an excuse to fire them, and this person just gave it to them. Normally, I'd say that companies don't really care about any of their employees, but it seems like this boss, for once, actually values good work. And this person delivered some good work and automated some tasks. Just don't automate yourself out of a job.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 4. Karen secretly films me jogging and shows video to my boss. I recently had an emergency appendectomy, and recovery has been slow. I had to take time off from my own athletics, but worse, from coaching in the kids' sports program I'm involved with. The experience has made me step back and realize I really built my whole identity around being active and healthy, so the hit my physical abilities took as a result of being sick Plus, the healing process has made me feel lost. I've been working to regain the joy I used to experience from exercise without going, "Oh, you used to be so much faster with that," or "Your technique used to be so much stronger," or "You don't fit in anymore," or whatever else, and just enjoy myself regardless of the level I'm at. But ironically, the anxiety about not being able to do what I used to have has made regaining those abilities difficult. It made me self-conscious about exercising in public spaces, but I was starting to finally get over it as friends convinced me the source of the concerns were all in my head. There's no way to get back to it other than training, so despite the anxiety, I started running again, as soon as the doctors approved it. I went to the local track and just did a few slow laps each morning, building up speed every few days. And I've only just been authorized to add some sprints and bodyweight strength training to the mix. Occasionally, there were other people at the track, but I didn't really notice because I run with headphones on and try to zone out in these lighter sessions. But little did I know, my friends were wrong. It was not all in my head. I was being watched, and more than that, I was being judged. My absolute catastrophe-level worst nightmare at this stage of building back my strength and speed. On Friday, I was setting up for practice at the kids program, and the head coach asked me into his office because a parent had a complaint. A parent I didn't know too well, Karen, was there, and he said she had specific complaints about me. Her desire to tell on me for whatever she thought she had me to overrode her freedoms to infect everyone. I was a bit nervous, as anyone is being called to meet with their boss over a complaint, but I figured it was a classic case of, "My kid should start more," or "I know my kid tried out as a midfielder, but I want him or her to switch to defense." That kind of rules don't apply to me thing. But instead, I sit down in the office, and Karen is playing my boss a video of me running on the track that she filmed from afar. It's surrounded by stadium-style risers. I was horrified, both because no one is ever totally used to seeing themselves on video, and because I was just embarrassed about how slow I was. But most importantly, because why was a virtual stranger, I've met her maybe personally 4 times ever, filming me while I ran on my own time at a private facility? She then went on to explain that her 8-year-old son, one of the players on my squad, was lapping me in the video and insisting the coaches needed to hold themselves to higher athletic standards than the young players if they want to prepare them for college teams. Again, her son is 8. Apparently, her son would sometimes be running on the track while her older child was practicing on a nearby field. I never noticed. The kid is still relatively new, and I don't pay much attention to the other people on the track. My boss patiently but firmly explained to Karen that my physical abilities are not the parents' concern, and all personnel are closely managed by the head coaches who understand each unique situation and what's appropriate, and that her son wouldn't be impacted. Karen then went on to say my being out of shape was probably connected to why I'd been taking so much time off lately. Technically, yes, it's because I was in the hospital, and complaining that the personnel changeover isn't good for the kids. My boss again reiterated that the head coaches hadn't changed or taken any time off, and that I was still one of the most skilled in the area I instructed, so this was not her concern. She asked if there was someone else she could speak to, but he explained that he was the owner and founder of this program, so no, there was not. I knew my boss was intentionally avoiding saying what had happened to me or even alluding to a health issue to protect my privacy, but I figured maybe being transparent with her would show her how ridiculous she was and keep her tuition dollars in our program during a difficult time for sports clubs. But when I explained, she just turned to the boss and said, "Well, maybe you should furlough her until she's healed and bring on a healthy coach in the meantime, because my son needs someone out there who can keep up with him." My boss respected what I was trying to do, but made clear we weren't going further with that strategy to avoid setting a precedent of sharing Coach's personal circumstances. Telling her why people take time off or what their health status may be is not her concern, because the program manages that and makes appropriate decisions. She kept kicking up a fuss, but the coach finally told her he had to get back out on the field, back to her son and everyone else's kids. She started physically leaving, but continued fussing about how she was not satisfied and would not be recommending us to other parents. Pro tip: not the way to conduct yourself with the people who make recommendations to scouts concerning family culture or team interaction. The coach wasn't preparing to leave. Instead, he stopped her in her tracks to tell her if she was found to be surveilling or otherwise harassing any staff members again, she would be permabanned from the program. No games or practices, no team social events, no presence in our buildings, and no clemency. So that was pretty satisfying. Her son is a good, average kid, and I'm glad the consequences were focused on booting her out rather than limiting his opportunities to have fun playing. So then we went out and had a great, happy, safe practice. This was still a pretty upsetting event for me personally, though, and I'll never unsee that discouraging video of me running, but it was ultimately reassuring to know that other staff have my back. Leaving Karen in the dust is just another step on my road to recovery. This is just giving the energy of those people who secretly film overweight people at gyms and then make fun of them by posting them online and calling them out. Why? This is very personal. And this is just so amazing that this boss, is backing this person up completely while they're recovering, and just really supportive of them while they're recovering. It just really gives me hope that this person will continue to keep running and trying to better themselves. Story 5. I moved out and took everything. It became apparent to me last week that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house to get one of their boyfriends in on the lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents/messes around the house so they could yell at me for them, and it all came to a head when they called a meeting with me 2 days ago. One of them had to hold the other back as she screamed at me that she hated me and that I was not welcome in the building. They proceeded to tell me that I contributed nothing to the house and wasted their space, and that they had gotten in with the landlady and convinced her not to renew my lease in June. I told them I'd talked to the landlady, and when they said they were the heads of the house, I laughed and went on with my day. I spoke to the landlady, and she acknowledged that they were out of hand, and while she had given them the power to not renew my lease, she also said I could move out whenever and not pay for a single day I wasn't there. So yesterday, I immediately called everyone I knew and vacated the house of everything I owned. I took the curtains, the rugs, all the cat toys, and even the cat tower that I had made with my mom. I took all of their things off my shelves and other furniture and stacked them in the middle of the now nearly empty living room. I snapped pictures of everything, handed the keys to the landlady, and immediately fracked off. They won't be back to the house until tomorrow. I blocked them on everything so I won't get an angry message, but I'm sure their faces will be priceless when they come home to a half-empty house with hundreds of dollars in storage and furniture gone. So much for me not contributing to anything to the house. Now I actually don't. They also have to find someone else to take up the lease till boyfriend can move in when June comes around, or they have to pick up my rent. Feels pretty good. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If you want the person out, be prepared for them to be out, and not on your timetable. If you're inconveniencing them, if they have a way to inconvenience you, it looks like they probably will. It was just better to be cordial and talk to them about this. Just really.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.